الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون. فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون. وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا لفضوا إليها وتركوك قائما قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين. والله خير الرازقين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا جاءك المنافقون قالوا نشهد إنك لرسول الله والله يعلم إنك لرسوله والله يشهد إن المنافقين لكاذبون. اتخذوا أيمانهم جنة فسدوا عن سبيل الله إنهم ساء ما كانوا يعملون. ذلك بأنهم آمنوا ثم كفروا فتبع على قلوبهم فهم لا يفقهون. وإذا رأيتهم تعجبك أجسامهم وإن يقولوا تسمع لقولهم كأنهم خشب مسندة يحسبون كل سيئة عليهم هم العدو فاحذرهم قاتلهم الله أنى يؤفكون. هم العدو فاحذرهم قاتلهم الله أنى يؤفكون. وإذا قيل لهم تعالوا يستغفر لكم رسول الله لووا رؤوسهم ورأيتهم يصدون وهم مستكبرون. سواء عليهم أستغفرت لهم أم لم تستغفر لهم لن يغفر الله لهم إن الله لا يهدي القوم الفاسقين. والذين يقولون لا تنفق على من عند رسول الله حتى ينفضوا ولله خزائن السماوات والأرض ولكن المنافقين لا يفقهون. يقولون لئن رجعنا إلى المدينة ليخرجن الأعز العز منها الأذى ولله العزة ولرسوله وللمؤمنين ولكن المنافقين لا يعلمون يقولون لئن رجعنا إلى المدينة ليخرجن العز منها الأذل ولله العزة ولرسوله وللمؤمنين ولكن المنافقين لا يعلمون يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تلهكم أموالكم ولا أولادكم عن ذكر الله ومن يفعل ذلك فأولئك هم الخاسرون يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تلهكم أموالكم ولا أولادكم عن ذكر الله ومن يفعل ذلك فأولئك هم الخاسرون وأنفقوا مما رزقناكم من قبل أن يأتي أحدكم الموت فيقول رب لولا أخرتني إلى أجل قريب فأصدق وأكن من الصالحين ولن يؤخر الله نفسا إذا جاء أجلها ولن يؤخر الله نفسا إذا جاء أجلها والله خبير بما تعملون والله خبير بما تعملون آمنت بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل على محمد With your permission, and inshallah recite the translation. I start in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most beneficial. Surah Al-Jumu'ah. Whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth is exalting Allah, the sovereign, the pure, the exalted in might, the wise. It is He who has sent among the unlettered a messenger from themselves, reciting to them His verses, and purifying them and teaching them the book and wisdom, although they were before in clear error. And to others of them who have not yet joined them, and He is the exalted in might, the wise. That is the bounty of Allah which He gives to whom He wills, and Allah is the possessor of great bounty. The example of those who were entrusted with the Torah and then did not take it on is like that of a donkey who carries volumes of books. Wretched is the example of the people who deny the signs of Allah, and Allah does not guide the wrongdoing people. Say, O you who are Jews, if you claim that you are allies of Allah, excluding the other people, then wish for death, if you should be truthful. But they will not wish for it, ever, because of what their hands have put forth, and Allah is knowing of the wrongdoers. Say indeed, the death from which you flee, indeed it will meet you. Then you will be returned to the knower of the unseen and the witnessed, and He will inform you about what you used to do. O you who have believed, when the adhan is called for the prayer on the day of Jum'ah, then proceed to remembrance of Allah and leave trade. That is better for you, if only you knew. And when the prayer has been concluded, disperse within the land and seek the bounty of Allah, and remember Allah often that you may succeed. But when they saw a transaction or a diversion of Muhammad, they rushed to it and left you standing. Say, what is with Allah is better than diversion and than a transaction, and Allah is the best of providers. Surah Al-Munafiqun. When the hypocrites come to you, O Muhammad, they say, we testify that you are the messenger of Allah, and Allah knows that you are His messenger, and Allah testifies that the hypocrites are liars. They have taken their oaths as a cover, so they averted people from the way of Allah. Indeed, it was evil that they were doing. That is because they believed, and then they disbelieved. So their hearts were sealed over, and they do not understand. And when you see them, their forms please you, and if they speak, you listen to their speech. They are as if they were pieces of wood propped up. They think that every shout is against them. They are their enemies, so beware of them. May Allah destroy them. How will they believe? And when it is said to them, come, the messenger of Allah will ask forgiveness for you. They turn their heads aside, and you see them evading while they are arrogant. It is the same for them. It is all the same for them. Whether you ask forgiveness for them or do not ask forgiveness from them, never will Allah forgive them. Indeed, Allah does not guide the defiant and disobedient people. They are the ones who say, do not spend on those who are with the messenger of Allah until they disband. And to Allah belongs the heavens and the earth. But the hypocrites do not understand. They say, if we return to Al-Madinah, the more honored for power will surely expel. Therefrom the more humble. And to Allah belongs honor, and to His messenger and to the believers, but the hypocrites do not know. O you who have believed, let not your wealth and your children divert you from the remembrance of Allah. And whoever does that, then they are the losers. And spend in the way of Allah from what we have provided you before death approaches one of you, and he says, my Lord, if only you were to delay me for a brief term, so I would give charity and be among the righteous. But never will Allah delay our soul when its time has come. Allah is acquainted with what you do. Surely Allah speaks the truth. Salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you all of you for coming to this program. This is inshallah the beginning of a series of programs we'll be doing here at Noor Center. This series is called Monthly Reflections because it gives us an opportunity at the end of every month to gather and discuss and reflect on some of the events which may have happened in the previous month. By events we mean any religious events, any social event, any political event. Many times what happens is an event occurs, people have an opinion about it, they form a judgment very quickly, and they are unable to change that conclusion once it's been made. And because of the difficulty of complex issues coming towards us, we need some guidance on how to form our conclusions. And so this initiative was born. We gather, we invite a scholar, an expert in religious affairs, to help guide the conclusions we make about the events affecting us as they happen right now. The events will be religious programs, for example, if there is a wiladat or shahadat of an imam or holy personality, what lessons we can take from their life today, those types of issues. Or social issues. If our community here in London or in the UK or the mu'mineen, the Shias, the Muslims, the believers, wherever they are facing an issue now, how do we address them? And the same is true for political issues. If there's an election coming, if there's an issue which people require our vote for, or they require our judgment for, how should we respond? How should we use our numbers? This initiative is to develop our understanding of these issues, inshallah. As for structure, how these programs will work, in the beginning, we have, in the first section, our expert scholar will discuss 3 issues, maybe some which have been advertised, which seem to be pending, seem to be really affecting us, or which deserve some discussion. Then there'll be a break. In the break, you have the opportunity to write down any questions you have. there'll be paper provided. Those people listening on the live stream, you can comment the question and we will inshallah hear you. Do that in the break, and when we return, you have the opportunity to ask questions to Sayyid based on what's been discussed. If something was raised you want more clarity on, ask a question. If something was left missing which you think needs to be addressed, again you can ask a question. Please try and keep the discussion focused on the topic areas. Okay? Awesome. We're very honoured to have Maulana Ali Rizvi with us. We wanted to begin the program with somebody who understood the initiative and understood the need to discuss social issues. So alhamdulillah we have that, but also we have somebody who's done a lot for our community. We're starting this program in Noor in South London, and Sayyid has contributed so much, through Idara, through Haydri, through his own personal capacity, through Majlis Ulama. He's frequently travelling, so we're very fortunate that he gave this time to us. He's leaving tomorrow to go abroad. For his good health, for his success, his continued success inshallah, and we pray and thank him for being here. Please, for his sake, we just salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
The first issue which we thought to raise came from a discussion a few months ago. A group of youth sent a letter to Ayatollah Sistani in Najaf. And in the letter they said to him, Sayyid, we are a group of youth, we live in the West, and we face a number of new issues, social issues, and we're not sure how to deal with them. What's your guidance? So Sayyid received this letter, and he responded by saying that not only will I respond to what you've just said, but I'll give you 8 pieces of guidance which will direct your soul towards heaven, if you follow it. So not only am I dealing with your request, but I have summarized for you your entire religious obligation, living where you live, in 8 points. So the first discussion is centered on some of the points discussed in that letter. Inshallah, I'll ask a question. And how, as we develop our lives in this year, at the beginning of 2018, we can take principles and incorporate them into our blueprint for the year that we face, inshallah. So Sayyid, the question is, looking at this letter, reflecting on what was asked of the Sayyid and of what he answered, which points stick out to you as relevant for us to take and incorporate in our daily plan?
There are 8 points that Sistani has raised for the youth living in the Western countries, and I think they apply to all youth, not only just Western countries, but youth living in any part of the world. First is Aqaid, and he points out Tawheed. Unfortunately, in recent years, again, we have had an attack by many of the communist, socialists, and atheists, to be honest, beliefs, again emerging into the Eastern countries. We have had a similar attack for the past decade or so by Richard Dawkins and the whole team, where people are now very openly expressing that they are atheist and encouraging people to say that we don't believe in God. Hazrat Sistani points out that holding on to your aqidah on Tawheed is extremely important. He goes on into a lot of details, but for me, I think it is extremely important at all times, but especially in current environment. Before the Islamic Revolution in Iran, you do know that in Iran, Pakistan, India, many parts of the world, especially the religious groups, especially in the Shia, there was a decline in belief, especially in Tawheed. So a lot of the people had stopped Azadari, a lot of the people had completely stopped practicing faith. They had stopped praying because they said the divisions happened, the country was divided. Because of the division, partition of India, many people became very poor. The Rajwadas, the Rajas and the Nawabs, they lost everything, and the people became extremely poor. For 30, 40 years, especially in India, people became extremely poor. Pakistan struggled. India has passed 20 years, recovered, but over the time in Africa and other parts, people had stopped believing. And again, we are facing huge problems in many countries. Iran, Iraq are now facing problems internally. When people become distant from religious authorities, they again go into disbelief, they become atheists, they think that it is our right to deny God. Okay? Now, so we're having similar situations for Pakistan, India, other parts of the world. Again, unfortunately, we're having a whole wave internationally of an anti-religion. There is a theory, which I don't want to go into and I don't believe in, but there is a theory in sociology that you have one generation that is religious and the second generation which is irreligious or anti-religion, and then the third generation again becomes religious. So now many of the people, sociologists and social psychologists are arguing that we've had that one generation of religious people, now we're growing up to the second generation who's going to be, I don't believe in that theory. I can show you in history, we've had decades and probably 2-3 centuries of prosperity. So people believed, people practiced, people did everything right. And then we had a century or so of famine, difficult times. One of the things that Imam Ali has pointed out in Nahju Balagha is that when people go through difficult times, they become disbelievers. Okay. I don't want to give too much time, but I needed more time. So at the moment, I know that we've started a bit late, so I'm short of time. So I'm not going to go too deep into this. But we do have proofs from a hadith that whenever people go through financial problems, they will deny God. They will blame God for it. In Africa, you will have more denials. If you see modern Christianity, how they preach and how the modern Muslims are preaching, well, Shias are on the lower end of preaching, unfortunately. I admit to that. I'm a part and parcel of that generation, and I try and do my part, but I know I'm not doing enough. So, like Christians, we have Wahhabis who are preaching, and I have now recently seen from the subcontinent of India and Pakistan, a lot of the people going to Africa to preach, to tabligh. Look at the approaches very quickly. I was talking to a scholar earlier on today. The approach of the Muslims, they see the people in poverty, difficult times, and say, please come to mosque. And the mother says, my child is dying, your God kill me. She will become extremely hurt and angry, say that I've lost a son and I'm now losing the second, and you're calling me to mosque, calling me to masjid. And look at the Christians, how they would preach. They would say, give me your child. Most of the missionaries are doctors, nurses. They'll take the child, give injections, medicine and everything. They'll drips and everything, and then they will say, okay, your child is better. Oh, I can't do anything for you. What can I do? I don't have any money. Oh, just come to the church on Sunday. Even though she is a practicing Muslim, now that she's indebted to that Christian, she will surely make her way to the church and slowly lose out either Islamic faith and beliefs. So I think the first and foremost for me is the belief overall, but belief in God. Secondly, he says that hold on to your morals, ethics. We are now a whole generation, second generation has now been brought up in the West, where the people said, don't call people uncle and aunties, call everyone by their name. Even if there is an 80-year-old man, you call him Peter. You don't call him uncle. You don't call him grandpa, even though he is a grandpa for someone. So now they are saying that that was probably from the 60s, that was a mistake. So there's a whole now debate going on in sociology and psychology, social psychology, that was probably a mistake, and that's how we basically decline morally. And no respect has been left. So there's a whole debate in the Western world, in America, in Europe, going on. Atlas Society says, hold on to your morals. The last point, you said 3 points, can I point out from that? Okay, 8. Well, the third point that I want to point out from that admonishment from Atlas Society, he says that utilize your free time, learn a trade. Yes, even though you decide to have a career, a different career in the future, but learn a trade. That way you will not be wasting your time. You may be able to help your family financially. You may be able to utilize your time. I think that is a very good advice. A lot of the people in the West, or to be honest, now even the East now, I go to Pakistan and the other countries, people are now losing out on time. People don't utilize time. So we have many traditions from the Ahlul Bayt, the Holy Prophet ﷺ himself, and the Ahlul Bayt al-Islam, utilization of your free time. For us is fursa. Yes? Your free time is a great gift of Allah. Normally some says that fursu kasahab, they pass by like clouds. So utilization of your free time. So free time, I think he is saying that you learn a trade. That's a very good advice. I mean, I never thought of it like that, but when I was reading through his advice, I think it's very spot on. So I always say utilize your time, but he's saying that learn a trade. You can learn different. There's so many things, opportunities I've seen. One good example I want to give. There's in Hausa, you get free time an hour usually before Maghrib and an hour usually before Dhuhr. Usually people cook in that time, or buy the bread and cheese, whatever they want to have for their lunch or whatever. Many people don't cook. People like me, they depend on others to cook. And people, they will say, okay, you buy the bread, I'll cook. you get this and you get, and 4 or 5 people got together and they did something. One of the scholars in he said an hour before Dhuhr, I used to pray, he said I used to pray in, I think, Faiziya, right next to Haram. What is the Faiziya where many other big scholars, so he said, after the Dashti. He said, I used to go just an hour before Dhuhr. I used to go and I said, okay, I'm going to utilize that time reading something which is not taught in the Hawla. And after a while, I realized, okay, I'm reading a lot. Can I do something constructive and compile a book? He said, I started searching for the words of Imam Hussain al-Islam. He said, because we have so many, like on Quran, hadith of the Holy Prophet, Imam Ali al-Salam. But Imam Hussain al-Islam, you would talk about Ashura and Masai, but you don't talk about his words. So he said, let me compile a book that has all the words of Imam Hussain, his letters, his sayings, his sermons, his du'as, and he ended up with an encyclopedia called Mawsu'at al-Kalimat Imam Hussain al-Islam. He said only 1 to 2 years, I can't remember now exactly, but I think it was between 1 to 2 years. Just 1 hour every day, he sat down, went through all the historical books and books of traditions, and he compiled the whole encyclopedia. And it is one of the most important books on Imam Hussain al-Islam. So he said only utilizing 1 hour just for myself, and I ended up compiling. So just utilization of your time can be very, you sometimes feel I don't have that much free time. You do. You have to make time and then utilize it properly. These are the 3 points that, there can be many, many other things, but I'm just only thinking of.
Yeah, one thing which you mentioned, which I think we can expand on, is regarding, you mentioned Hussain Islam. Imam Hussain said the same thing, that people, when religion is easy, believers, when religion is tough, the number decreases. Because what you mentioned, it seems that when we want people to be religious, we try and tell them narrations and ayahs of Quran, but really, if they're struggling with their job, if they haven't got money, if they're facing social problems, that is more going to prevent them from listening to religious guidance than because they don't want to be religious. So, should we approach people and try and use the names and the language of religion to try and bring them closer? Or should we use alternate means, but then perhaps they don't know that their solutions coming from Islam?
I think it's a very good question. The words he said, إِذَا مُحْسُ بِالْبَلَى فَقَلَّتْ دَيَّانُونَ. Imam Hussain al-Islam says, if people are inflicted with problems, then you will find that the practicing ones are very, very few. إِذَا مُحْسُ بِالْبَلَى. If they go through affliction, problems, then قَلَّتْ دَيَّانُونَ. Very little you will find the people who practice. Okay? So now, what happens? Now, a lot of the people who become religious, like me and you, especially when we are in early stages of our learning, then we, unfortunately, that's how we are. We impose it on others. You're not religious. You're not doing this. You're not doing praying on time. We come across in a way that people feel religion is a problem. This guy became religious, and look how he's become. He's always mourning, he's always complaining, he's always shouting, and he's telling me off. Don't do that. I always tell all of my brothers and sisters, I've seen that with boys and girls, women and men. So when they become religious, they become a burden on others. Don't you know that there is this teaching? You're not doing this. So the other person feels that, I wish this guy hadn't become religious. He's now become a burden on me. So unfortunately, that's how we become. So we shouldn't do it in a way that it is a burden. Religion is not a burden. It is a solution, just like you said, that it is a solution from Islam, but it has to be done in a way that people want to take it. It's a gift. It's something that will improve me. So what happens is, I don't want to keep comparing Islam with Christianity, unfortunately, but because they are more advanced, so I keep giving examples, so do forgive me for that. Like a very liberal person from Pakistan, Shia again, but he doesn't ever declare that he's Shia. He's very popular on media. He was saying, look at all the people that go to madrasas, and look at all the people that go to Catholic schools. Still the best schools in Pakistan, India, Africa, and Europe still remain to be Catholic schools. Okay? So he said, look at all the people that go to top Catholic schools. They come out smiling. And all the people that go to madrasa, they've got a face. I want to eat you. I hate you. There's something wrong with that person. There's a look. I'm trying to make a face, but so I can't look at myself, so I can't tell if I'm doing it right or not. Like they have, eyes are face, horrible, and giving a dirty look to everyone. You know, smile. Just a little smile can change the world. You don't know how much impact you have when you're smiling. That smile and that, look, a fresh looking face. Others say, oh, you are so full of energy. Can I, what do you do? Nothing. I only just pray on time. Ah, is that what it does? If you got I don't want to go to madrasa. I don't want to be honest, learn Quran. This guy is, willing to eat me, So those little things do make a huge difference to people. So Atlas Hisani is, he says your morals are extremely important. So morals are they are very important. Like I was saying that in social society today, they are saying that very young people, so I don't want to discuss some of the things that, the American Catholics have now started a whole movement that you should not indulge in haram things before marriage without opening up too much. Yes, there's a whole movement now from the American Catholics that destroyed the, you thought it would ease up people. No, they became more and more corrupt. It destroyed America. It destroyed Europe before America. Okay, so there's a whole movement now saying that no, hold on to morality, hold on to not just good etiquette, but also morality. So Atlas Hisani emphasizes on that. He says form early families. So that was number 6. One of the precepts on the, is it my phone? Sorry. I'm trying to. It's new. So I'm just learning how to use it. So early marriage, please don't keep delaying it. Okay, a lot of the people tell you, oh, you're not earning enough, you won't ever make a house. That's against the Quranic teachings, that's against the tradition of the Holy Prophet. The Holy Quran says, Wallahu wasi'un alim, Allah is extremely ample giving and all knowing. Where does he say that? Exactly when he mentions the marriage. Contrary to our cultures, Western or Eastern, makes no difference. All cultures discourage you, don't get married. You won't save enough. No. And the Holy Prophet says, or Imam Sadiq al-Islam, he says, Man taraka tazwija khawfan min imlaq, faqad asa'a dhanna billah. Anyone who delays marriage, fearing poverty or, that he doesn't have good finances, he is negative about God. He holds negative feeling. If Allah is providing for you, why will He not provide for your partner? So early marriage is highly encouraged. Atlas Hisani goes into some details. He says that it gives you meaning to life. It gives you not to be selfish. It teaches you to sacrifice, to become family oriented. So early marriage is encouraged, and I would also emphasize on that.
The next topic was on Fatimiyya, which are the days which we say the Fatimiyya. No, you can't. It's okay. Shall you so the days of Fatimiyya, which are coming up now. Some riwayat have begun this month, some come next month. The days which remember the sacrifice of Lady Fatima. The question here is on how we commemorate it and how we consider Fatimiyya. There's a movement to take our events and make them purely historic. Fatimiyya, Ashura, all these things belong in history. We discuss them and we learn from them, and that is the beginning and end of our engagement with these topics. Others argue that no, Fatimiyya, Ashura, all of these concepts, they have some practical benefits. You should not enter the majlis of Sayyida Fatima and leave it as the same person. It should have something practical. So the question says is, in considering these two, is it the case that Fatimiyya especially is something which is current for us? And how can we make sure we approach it in a way which impacts on our own personal development?
Okay. I would need to very quickly touch upon 2 things before I answer this question. Many events in history are not just historical accounts and historical events. They form your aqaid. Hazrat Adam is a part of history, but he's not just history. He is Nabi. He's a prophet. What he did, what he said and everything will become and form part of religion. The Holy Prophet's life, who supported him, who was against him, who believed in him, who disbelieved, they are historical accounts, but they form our aqaid. Okay, they form our beliefs. A lot of the people confuse the two, and they would always argue, oh, these are historical accounts, and by denial of those historical accounts, it does not make you a Muslim or a non-Muslim or anything like that. No, a lot of the historical events and accounts are not just historical, they form beliefs, okay, without going into too much detail. If you wanted details, you can ask questions and I will go in more details. Now, so the Holy Prophet's life, his seerat, his practice are all beliefs and practices. So not just historical accounts. Likewise, what happened to Fatima Zahra salam alayha, is all a part of Shia aqaid. Everyone please have that clear in your mind. What happened in Ashura is a part of Shia aqaid. What happened to Muhammad alayhi salam is all a part of our aqaid. Okay? Especially what happened to Fatima Zahra salam alayha. This is a part of the Shia aqaid. You cannot say it was historical, there were mistakes, and we should just leave it aside. No. It tells us who we take our teachings from, who we believe, who we respect, and who we do not believe, who we do not respect, or who we do not take our teachings from. That's first and foremost. Secondly, how do we commemorate all of those historical events is again very important. Do we explicitly go into the full details on the media, social media, electronic media, where we may again cause conflict and disunity between Muslims? Or do we express all of those things in a respectful way where we do not begin or start another conflict? But it is extremely important that at least our own youth today do understand and know what happened and who we respect and who we do not. Unfortunately, today we are going through a phase where we will be confronted by huge problems, conflicts. Because of those conflicts and problems, we will leave aside many of those debates where our own youth will be growing up being unclear on many of the Shia beliefs. So it is important that without causing any conflict, any problem, we still need to be clear on what we truly believe and what happened. So Fatimiyya is extremely important. Now, can I just give 2 examples here? You know, today there are so many movements, political movements all over the world, and no matter where you go, everyone says, we are followers of Hussein, even if they're not Shias. And we're going to be throwing out all the Yazids. Do you know why? Because the Shias have commemorated Muharram so much so that everyone knows that Yazid was wrong and Imam Hussein was right, and no one has the power, even if they believe in him, to defend Yazid. But because Fatimiyya was wrapped up for many reasons, for political reasons, religious reasons, taqiyya, yes, that people who were enemies of Fatima Zahra are still not unveiled, and people have the courage, the audacity to defend the enemies of Fatima Zahra. But they don't have the courage to defend the enemies of Imam Hussein. So it is extremely important today that we do. And today, a lot of the Shias don't know what happened to Fatima Zahra. And many I have seen when, the whole movement in the 90s, late 90s, started by 2 grand Ayatollahs from Qom. Ayatollah Tabrizi, marhum, rahmatullah alayh, Ayatollah Mirza Jawad Tabrizi, and Ayatollah Shaykh Hussain bin Khorasani. It was started by these 2. A lot of opposition from within happened, but over the years, in the past 20 years, all ulama maraji today now admit and believe that leaving aside Fatimiyya was a mistake. But how do we deal with it? Do we explicitly explain everything, or So Ayatollah Khulafani had to give a speech and said, when you go out, do not mention 5 names. We all understand the 5 names. Yes? Okay. So because it may be recorded, so I don't want to mention the names again. Yeah. So just be careful. So you know the names, you all understand the names, and so he added 2 more names to that, and he said do not mention those names. So the 3 and then the 2. Okay? Everyone got it? The first 3 and the 2 ladies, okay? So don't mention them. And so he came out on this whole movement and he said that no, that shouldn't happen. I still have to do it because some other people continuously showed me faces. No, I don't get it. Okay? So it is very important that we understand that, the whole movement. But today, when Fatimiyya has started happening and people now listen to majalis, we are in 21st century. Unfortunately, yes, there is high conversion from our Sunni brother side to Shia, but there are also Shias today in this century converting to other faiths because, mainly becoming atheists, but some are now going to other faiths. Why? Because they don't know the true teachings and they don't know the differences, they don't know the roots of the Shia religion, okay? And that has to be asserted in Fatimiyya. Does that make clear? I don't need to go into more detail. Okay, thank you.
More detail on something.
Yeah.
So regarding Sayyid Fatima, it seems that her stand against oppression inspired many people after her to also take similar stands against oppression, which comes to us. And it seems that one of the people she may have inspired was her daughter, Sayyida Zainab sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who's, we all remember,
Last week.
yeah. With that in mind, in what ways do we see the principles of the stands of the mother in the stands of the daughter?
Okay, very good question again. Because Imam Ali al-Islam was deprived of public opposition, you know, he spoke publicly and they denied him. They said, no, you're not allowed to speak. So they denied him office, they denied him speech. In fact, he was one of the greatest oppressed people in the history of mankind. Shaykh Mirza Mutahari says that had it not been for Karbala, I would openly say Imam Ali al-Islam is the most oppressed personality in the history of mankind. Had it not been for Karbala. Okay? What happened? When he came to masjid, they said, why do you come to masjid? Why don't you stop now attending the prayers? It was then he was dragged out of his house and Fatima came out publicly and spoke. Not only just gave a sermon, spoke publicly, but she also used to say, "Ya come with me at night," and she would knock on the door of Ansar and say, "Have you forgotten my father?" No, we have. Do you remember what happened in Ghadir? Yes, we do. Then help me. They would try and say, "Yes, we will." So come and attend the Fajr prayers up until she was alive. So they say that all of Bani Hashim is instigated for not paying allegiance. So it is that inspiration that when Imam Sajjad and her brothers are killed, and Imam Sajjad is taken as a captive by the army of Yazid, Zainab al-Qurra speaks. So she spoke in Kufa, she spoke in Damascus, only because Imam Sajjad was deprived of speech. She did not wish to speak in the court or the palace of Yazid. You know there are so many accounts from Shia from the history that Yazid continuously spoke when she entered. Who are you? Who is this lady? Who are the other? Can you tell me the names? Who are you? She said, I'm not. She did not answer. I don't see you worthy enough of communication. But when Imam Sajjad was dragged down, you know, they placed hands on his shackles, all the army to shut him down. They said, you're not allowed to speak. Yazid said, you're not allowed to speak. It's only then she stood up and she said, now that the Imam of the time is not allowed, Fatima has set an example for me that the Imam of her time, Ali ibn Talib, was today, and today Ali ibn Talib, I will speak. So she spoke only when her Imam or her nephew who was her Imam was denied. So then she spoke. So she followed again the footsteps. Today, can I just say one last thing? You know, a lot is happening in the world. I don't want to cause frustration because a lot of the young people do become frustrated very quickly. But I found so much why isn't anyone speaking on it? I don't want to cause any frustration. But unfortunately, if you look at the Muslim world today, just silent like it was silent in the time and the assassination of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, Imam Hassan, Imam Ali alayhi salam, and what happened in the time of Fatima Zahra salam alayha. Very similar. Everyone quiet on everything. So again, we have to be positive in making that impact, but not with frustration, but with pure intelligence. Unfortunately, our enemy is doing it intelligently, and we are just reacting with frustration. That I don't believe. Do not give reaction. Be proactive. Be two steps ahead of your enemy, and do it positively. Without mentioning any names of any countries. Look what they're doing. They come and kill you. They attack you. They take away your land. They announce their own capitals, and then they say, we will not give you aid. You have to believe. We don't care that you are dying. You have to come to terms with us. Hang on. We are the victims. No, you're not. You're disrespecting us by denying our aid if you do not accept our conditions. So we are victims so many times. Where are the Muslim powers? We have the corrupt leaders who will compromise anything on petrodollars. And that's the age we are living in. So we have to be two steps ahead and be positive. Rather than just being frustrated, become positive. We can play a role. Sometimes I've seen just individuals who are not powers, who are not countries, making huge differences. So we have to be positive, and rather than being frustrated, be positive and say I am going to make it, and that's going to be me who makes a difference. But Allah is going to give me the Zamana will help. So be positive.
Again, any questions on this? Then record it and we'll address them after the break. The final topic which we're going to discuss for this part is some news which came out earlier this month about a scholar called Sheikh Zakzaki. Many people know him, a leader in the Nigerian movement. 2 years ago, he was attacked. His family was attacked. Many of his sons were killed, and he was imprisoned. And only recently, this month, he gave the first public interview we've seen in a long time. And she said that I'm well. They've allowed my doctors now to see me. Keep praying for me. Keep remembering me in your du'as. Because when he was in prison, people all around the world, became very attracted to his movement, his message. He's been to London many times. Have a good relationship with him. And it was very sad to see such a brutal oppression of such an innocent and peaceful man. Now his case highlights for us our expectations of ulama. Of scholars. You see, many times we think the role of a scholar is community affairs, things like nikah, the marriage, burial, maybe giving lectures, maybe doing your tabligh. This is an understanding of alim. And in history we have cases where scholars have assumed quite big responsibilities. Sheikh Zakzaki was in charge when there was less than 5 families of Shias, and now there are over 200. Some ulama assume very special roles. So his case begs the question, which is that in history, what different roles have ulama taken, what responsibilities have they taken, and what activities have they done? And in that light, how significant is Sheikh Zakzaki for us today?
Very important and significant to our contemporary life. Shia scholars have had major roles in the development of Shia theology, students, and aides over the times. Not only just in Iran and Iraq, but also in the subcontinent, Asia. First time I ever visited Malaysia last year, and they told me that Islam came the grand Sayyid Dibaj. Muhammad Dibaj, the grandson of Islam, to Malaysia. He traveled all the way from when the assassins were killing them. So they started migrating. He came to Iran, to India, went all the way up to Malaysia, and he introduced Islam to them. The king converted and married his daughter to Muhammad Dibaj and said, "Stay here." So they have the first shrine there in Malaysia, and that's how Islam started. It was Abdullah Shahbazi, whatever you call him, who introduced Islam to the subcontinent of India and Pakistan. He was again the great grandson of Imam Hassan al-Islam, again in the time of Sadiq al-Islam, he came to Sindh, and his shrine is in Karachi. So you can imagine that the scholars, all these are all scholars, they were all scholars who introduced Islam to different parts. And in early history, the founder of the Hausa and Sheikh Husi played a major role. When the political movement was happening, Bani Abbas were being thrown out. We all know Genghis Khan attacked. And this was 1,000 years back. Genghis Khan, we've all heard of Mongolian ruler. Genghis. When he attacked, because the Abbasids had killed his ambassador, he came all the way from Mongolia, from the northern states, the Russian states, Uzbekistan, Ara, Samarkand, destroyed everything, came to Baghdad, the Khalifa killed him. When he was taking over, he burned the books down and he was putting them into Euphrates, and the color had changed. The burnt books and the ink had changed the color of the river. So a lot of the Muslim heritage was lost. Sheikh Husi went to him and said, "Look, we'll not mess with you. You don't mess with us. But let me take the life from Baghdad, from Kadhimiya. I'll go to Najaf. We'll not interfere." Had he not done that, Shias would have been completely destroyed. So he saved the whole heritage and migrated to Najaf. That's where the Western people got the idea of having two states in the country. Political state should be separate from. But obviously that was taqiyya. That wasn't the original idea. But because the Shias were weak at the time, that's what he was introducing. So that we'll stay away from the political capital. So he went to Najaf. And then Germans, French, and British people started. Okay, London is political capital. We'll have Oxford and Cambridge, which are academic capitals. Likewise, all over the world. Sheikh Ghazali played major roles when they were killed by the Ottoman Empire. Yes, Sheikh Ghazali was killed by both Lebanese. So they played major roles. Khalid, India, Agra, Qadisullah Shushti went from Iran to Agra, Indian capital of the Mughals. His tomb is there, and he introduced the Shias. The Queen was Shia. So Allama Hilli to Muhammad Khudabandeh was a great grandson of Genghis Khan's grandson. Did someone say the name? Kublai Khan was his son and his son. Anyway, it was his grandson who basically became a Shia, and his great grandson was Sultan Muhammad Khudabandeh, who became the king of all of the Muslim world. Yes, Persia. His capital was Shiraz or Isfahan. And Allama Hilli went to solve the issues and converted him to become a Shia. You see, and then the Safavids, it was Allama Muhammad Baqir Majlisi who played a major role. So Shia ulama have played major roles. I don't want to go into that too much. Up until the revolution in Iran that brought the Shia Marja'iyya into highlight. It brought the whole of the Shia leadership into, the international highlight. What is an Ayatollah? Who is an Ayatollah? The White House was talking about it, CIA, the Western world. In recent years, after, you can say, the Maraje, someone called Sayyid Hassan Nasrullah made a big impact in the Western world because of the war in 2006 or 7, was it? 2006? The Israel-Lebanon war. He made a huge impact. And after that, the biggest impact has been, since 2006, was the impact of Sheikh Ibrahim. So he is the first Shia scholar in the past many centuries to have such an impact from African background. So I'm really proud for the African community that they have someone like Sheikh Ibrahim Zakzaki who has made everyone proud. The Shias are proud of this personality. He was attacked, and his role, I don't want to go into the political background, but his role and the role of ulama. Now, high expectations of the ulama because of the dress, because we wear the dress of the Holy Prophet and the Aimah al-Bayt. So in the absence of the Imam, the Prophet of Islam, people expect similar role of the Imam al-Islam from all the ulama. Now, anyone who wears the dress cannot have the same impact as this. That is not possible. Okay. So everyone wearing the imama must not, you must not expect the same you must not have the same expectations from all scholars, that they may vary. Secondly, anyone who does wear an imama has automatically taken the role of leadership. Now, leaders may be just for a local community, just for the mosque. Their role may be, now most of the scholars are just in home, and they never get out, they remain there, from their towns, villages, cities, they come to home, they remain there. But a lot of the scholars do get out, they do go and preach. So we want scholars to play their role, to understand what their role is, and we want intelligent people to be coming to the house after selling and then going to play their role. A lot of the people do come and they don't know how to play. And a lot of the people don't want to take any responsibility, so they remain where they are. They don't get out. But when you do come out, you have a responsibility. You have a role to play. I don't want to overburden the scholars with responsibilities, but there is huge responsibility on their shoulders. So once you become a mu'ammam, once you start wearing the dress, high expectations of you straight away. People say, so long as you were not wearing it, we didn't expect anything. But now that you are wearing the dress of the Holy Prophet and the Imam, we have high expectations. Okay? So expectations are very high. People do want to see them as role models, as people who are involved in the community, people who are socially close to the people and not far away, not distant. Alayhimussalam were part and parcel of the society. They were living in the society. People could communicate. The most important thing is that you should be able to communicate with these scholars. Sheikh Ibrahim Zakzaki's most important role is that he converted, I don't know how many, but somewhere between 500,000 to 2 million people, and that's a lot of people. I have not seen anything like that in contemporary history. He has one of the biggest marches for Ashura and Arba'een after Iraq in the world, one of the biggest. And that speaks for itself. Okay? So that conversion allowed many of the anti-Shia movement, especially the Saudi royal family, they want to be the Muslim superpower, and they don't want any Shia or Iranian influence anywhere in the world. They see that as a threat. Sheikh Ibrahim Zakzaki was openly wearing the Amama Abaqaba. He was openly mentioning Imam Hussain a.s., Imam al-Mahdi a.s., very openly in his lectures. And he was very openly speaking against the international colonial powers, without mentioning names. So the colonial powers obviously don't like that, and he was targeted. What they want to do is they want to, there is a word in Arabic, ibrat. We use that in Farsi and Urdu as well. They want to set an example for all the African people that if you mess with us, this is what happens to you. You lose your whole family, you lose your health, you lose your sight. He's already lost one eye. You know that? He's blind from one eye now. They've battered him so much in the past 2 years that he doesn't mention it. But his lawyer was telling me that he cannot see this one. I can't remember now which eye, but he has lost one eye. So what they want to do is they want to set an example in Africa that, look, you have to remain on our side, otherwise this is what happens to you. This is what you will become. Okay? But all salutations to Sheikh Ibrahim Zakzaki. After losing 6 sons, his family, his health, his eye, he still says, had I not known Imam Hussain a.s., I would have turned back. But now that I know Hussain ibn Ali, there is no turning back for me. And that's, I think, the biggest lesson for me. I think that sentence speaks for itself. He has been an inspiration not only for all Africans. There are many other countries now openly speaking out, in Tanzania, Kenya, all of the Shias in the no, we want to be leaders, we want to lead our people into the next phase, where we want to be decision makers, where we lead people to education for our rights. He's also been inspiration for Far East, people in the subcontinent, in Iran, Unfortunately, we do see a lot of racism in many parts of the world against Africans and against some other nations. poor nations. Yes, but he is the first black person who has earned the highest respect, and I salute him for that. And we needed one big example, and I think he's given that example.
His example does demonstrate a problem though, which is that he was able to achieve that much because he was from the community he was in. He had cultivated social bonds with the people. They knew him, they respected him, and then they were more likely to listen to him. Sometimes with us what happens is we expect somebody to come and solve our problems for us. An alim, a scholar should come from home and address this problem, or a scholar should come and address this problem. When it comes to ulama, how can we use and appreciate ulama who come from faraway places when they're not from where we're from, they don't understand the social problems the way we understand them, and yet they are expected to solve the problems for us? This seems like a bit of a contradiction.
Okay. For Sheikh Ibrahim Zakzaki, I still believe that if today he started some funding campaign or he started an international campaign, people from all over the world, he's the person who's earned the respect, and people, he's earned the trust. Human beings are like that. We are socially and politically very protective, and we don't want to, especially after many bad experiences, we don't want to quickly give in to anyone who comes in, and until and unless he proves. The Holy Prophet lived amongst the people of Mecca for 40 years when he proved to them that he is sincere, he is truthful, he is trustworthy, he is pure of heart and clean of character. Then he wanted to lead. Sheikh Ibrahim Zakzaki, likewise, he lived amongst the people, and when he earned the respect, they went all the way. Likewise, I think any scholar who comes out, you need a lot of patience. What I have learned it's going to be 20 years for me in my practical life now as a religious person. In 20 years, I've learned many, many lessons. Some I learned the hard way, some, you learn from other people's mistakes. Do I have time? A couple of minutes. Now, what happens is, many times, we come out in public, and you need to, when you're running any projects or anything, or any ideas that you are in community, you need to have a lot of patience. Sabr. Atullah al-Bagani marhum rahmatullah alayhi, he used to always say that you need the prophet's heart. Anbiya, prophets, they all had a lot of patience. For years they preached and they never complained, and they never said, I'm leading and you have to follow me. They continuously told the people, and the people disbelieved, but they continued their work. What happens with us is that we preach a year or two, and then we say, okay, I'm taking a few steps, I need everyone to follow now. That doesn't happen. So sabr is needed. Anyone who is in the leading position has to have patience with the community. I do believe that our community is very good. But yes, we are not as organized as we need to be. We don't have clear vision on many parts. We don't have a good infrastructure, and we don't have organizational structures. So we're lacking on all of those points. And we don't have a very strong and top leadership. I'm community leader since 2011. So after coming into practical life, I can say that we need to organize everything. We need to devise infrastructure, organizational structure. I've had very positive feedback. I've had very good response from the community. So I cannot blame the community, but we have lacked on many fronts. So I don't want to go into that now, but I think it's going to take a bit of time, and I think it has to happen from the top. The middle order leadership has to get things in order, and that is not happening at the moment. So we need to. We're not like the Catholic Church or Church of England or Jewish people. I don't want to even give an example of, but even Khanis or Ahmadis, Qadianis. There are many examples in front of us we can see who have been recent, but they have developed. So we need to develop.
Thank you very much. That concludes the first section of our discussion. At this point, we'll have a break for 10 minutes. There's some waters at the back and you can have some tea. And in that time, please write any questions that you have regarding what we said. There's paper that you'll find, or think of a question, we'll bring a mic round. Anything which was mentioned which you think you need more information on, or any of the topics which you'd like to know something else about, inshallah, please do ask questions and we'll return after 10 minutes. And those people who are watching on the live stream, I understand there are many. All of you, please comment and write your questions, and inshallah we'll try and answer them live for you. So, shall I go for a break? Sallallahu Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.